we are back. I know I took some time off. I just needed a break, but we are back. So today we are going to be talking about a few different countries, okay? We're just going to be doing some updates. There's some new things that have happened, and we're just going to talk about what's been going on in the media, okay? So we're going to start off talking about Ghana. So recently, there was a huge citizenship ceremony held in Ghana. Over 500 people, but apparently it's been reported that 524 people were granted Ghanaian citizenship over this past weekend. And one of the people that received their citizenship was the activist and popular influencer Chaka. Chaka has been known for the past few years coming to Ghana, doing a lot of work and meeting with a lot of different activists and officials and things like that. So he was one of the 524 people that received their citizenship. So a few days before Chaka announced that he was one of the people getting his citizenship, he also announced with EYL, Earn Your Leisure founders, Troy Millings, as well as Rashad Bilal. They are partnering with a company here in Ghana, and they are starting the development process for a 300-acre, 400, 500-acre real estate development called Sombra City. So the reports came in, they made the announcements, they also did some live YouTubes to talk about it. So if you want to learn more about their development program and things like that, definitely check them out on their respective social media accounts. And so when I was going through social media, just kind of like trying to get more information about not only the citizenship ceremony, but also with this new recent development, I noticed that a lot of Ghanaian social media users were upset. One, they were upset at the citizenship ceremony, even though there were a lot of congratulations, there were a lot of, welcome to Ghana, but there was also a lot of concern. And so I kind of want to talk about this really briefly because I noticed that when the diaspora does certain things like real estate development, or there's some type of announcement, or when there's some type of ceremony, there's usually this consistent pushback that happens amongst the, I would say, younger Ghanaian community, but I would also specifically point out that it's a social media community as well. And I noticed that a lot of people were kind of upset that Chaka was a part of this real estate development. They called him names like calling him a colonizer, saying that, Black Americans, even though he's not Black American, but somehow Black Americans just get blamed for everything, right? But Troy and Rashad are Black American. However, the team that they are partnering with, the Ghanaian team that they are partnering with, is also the team, I think, one of the founders of Afrofuture. As well as another founder who I'm not sure, I don't think he's a part of Afrofuture, but he is a part of the real estate industry here in Ghana. And so it's really interesting because I saw a lot of people were basically coming from the perspective of, how come you guys are only building real estate for, the elites or the upper class, because the houses that Chaka and EYL and Sombra City have announced and started advertising are priced at $180,000. And so there is a conversation to be had about the real estate industry in Ghana, particularly pertaining to the diaspora. There is this, I'm gonna be very honest when I talk about this. There is this assumption that when the diaspora comes to Ghana, comes to Africa, there is this assumption that if the diaspora is going to build a bunch of real estate, that they should also be building real estate for the local community. And I think that this is causing a lot of tension. It's causing a lot of aggression. And when I see these different interviews, I see, the most recent Web Nation Africa discussion where they talked about like why diasporans leave Ghana and what are some of the tribulations that people are going through. And every interview that I watch talking about whether it's Ghana or an African country, but specifically Ghana, there is this conversation about envy. There's this conversation about, someone seeing people have things. And so there's this uncomfortable discussion that I think is not connecting, right? The reality is that even though there is a real estate industry, a local real estate industry in Ghana, in every country, right? But in Ghana, Ghana has its own local real estate industry, whether it's the lowest form of real estate to the highest form of real estate, right? Particularly pertaining to their local community, their Ghanaian citizens. For diasporans, upon arrival before 2019, after 2019, most people have realized that the infrastructure that is available when it comes to housing and real estate is not up to the standards that most diasporans not only just feel comfortable in, but like feel safe, right? We are talking about communities, not just housing. We're talking about the experience of living amongst communities. We're not just talking about real estate. And so I noticed that there was this conversation of, where's the housing for the poor economy? Where's the housing for lower income? Where's the housing for lower middle income? Where's the housing for homeless people? And this conversation that would usually be directed to the government, which would usually be directed to Ghanaian diaspora, the millionaires of the millionaire tech guys and women who are of the Ghanaian diaspora all throughout the world, right? Usually these conversations would be targeted towards the indigenous diaspora. But I noticed that there is this tension when a diasporan does a real estate development. There's always this question of why isn't the development affordable for the everyday person? And so I noticed that, and I notice it in every, conversation that you have with any person that's interested in coming to Ghana, because people want to know, what is the landscape? What is it like? What is it like living there? What is the housing like? And so I do think that there is a conversation that should be had about who is responsible for the lack of housing in Ghana, right? And then that's when I saw other tweets come in about Chaka bars, and they were saying that, the diasporans are gentrifiers. They're saying that a lot of the lands that are given to diasporans to buy are displacing other local communities. Now, that's something that's hard to necessarily prove in every aspect, because there are areas that are being gentrified by, people, not just the diasporan, but anybody that's coming to Ghana to do business, whether it's illegal miners, whether it's the Ghanaian diaspora, whether it's the Ghanaian local citizens who have money, who are doing things. There is always this conversation about displacement. But then there's a lot of space that you will see when you're traveling throughout the country, and you'll always kind of wonder, like, wow, there's all this space. And so I noticed that someone even said, like, wow, 500 acres, and someone said, like, I didn't even know there was 500 acres worth of land for someone to buy, left in Ghana. So people are starting to just question how this purchase happened. Why is it targeted towards upper middle class people? And I think that this is just a story that we will have to continue to follow throughout, these new movements and Blaxits to Ghana. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We can see what people are doing now and how they are using their influence and using their inspiration and using, their imagination for what they have for Africa. And we just never know, So I am interested in just keeping up with the story and seeing how it goes. They also announced that in 2027 the project should be either beginning or complete. I don't remember, but they have shown videos that there have been some type of foundation building, or at least some type of construction has started on the site. So we will stay tuned with that. So let's keep talking about Ghana. There's another update with galamsey, the illegal mining situation that has been all over, social media, and kind of barely the news, the media, the mainstream media. So galamsey is happening in Ghana, as I talked about in one of my last videos. 60%, it's been reported that 60% of Ghana's water bodies are currently contaminated due to the illegal mining practices that is happening here. And so recently, a media station called Joy News FM here in Ghana, they did a street debate, and they went to speak to different people at the University of Ghana. And one of the people that they spoke to was actually one of the women that was detained as a protester during the protest that happened a couple months ago, where people were fighting against galamsey. And so let's take a look at this video.
As everybody says, we all know, look at these young children, I will call them. They know what's going on, and we are talking, we're on demonstrations, we are shouting, we are on TV channels, we're doing everything we can. People like Awala Sewa, document upon document upon document, fighting this thing. And the people who are supposed to be in charge, where are they? And what are they doing? Look at this young man. I don't even know whether the water he's drinking is clean. I am so afraid. I have a son sitting there. I brought this boy from UK to come and help me. I am now so ashamed that I brought this man from UK to come and drink this. What grandchild is he going to give me? I don't want any grandchildren. Young men, ladies, don't do it. It's not profit. Do not do it. Don't have children. Until they clean your water, let the population go down. Let them feel your pain.
So as you can see in this video, she's very, upset. She's talking about some really urgent things. And I am so curious at the way the diaspora community hasn't really joined in this conversation about water. With the new ceremony that just happened with over 500 people receiving citizenship, even within that community, even with a lot of real estate developers, I haven't seen a lot of people really honestly talk about not only what's going on with galamsey, but how they are going to participate against it, or how they are going to help their residents be healthier. Because when we talk about water, we're talking about everyone in the country. And so that would usually be something that you would think that the real estate industry would be discussing, especially people who are hiring people to create boreholes. So this is the last story pertaining to Ghana. So I woke up this morning and there was this story about a woman who was kidnapped. She looks as if she's probably over her 40s, and she was an Emirates manager at the airport. And the story came in over the weekend, where they announced that she was kidnapped, and then a few days later they announced that she was rescued. But reports have come in that was not the full story. So let's talk about this a little bit more. So an Emirates manager was recently working at her job, working at the airport, and a group of national security as well as some, officials, some MP officials, were late to their flight. One woman in particular. Apparently because the lady did not let her onto the flight, or she did not hold the flight for her, this other woman made a call and got her kidnapped. That is what the information is coming out as of now. Allegedly got her kidnapped. And now the woman is free, and her story is coming out, even though there hasn't been any video evidence of her telling her story, but there have been reports coming out saying that the woman was also dumped near Ashima, which is a town out here in Accra. She was just dumped somewhere tied up, and she had to walk to a nearby restaurant to seek refuge and to seek help, where she was later picked up by her husband. And so this story right now, as of this morning, is currently Monday morning. Today is Monday. This story is currently going around social media, and people are quite afraid at a lot of this information that's coming out right now. You know, I think that hearing a story like this, where someone got kidnapped simply because they did not let someone on their flight, I don't know. I don't know. At this point, I don't know. It does sound scary, and it does sound alarming, and it does make you question what's going on. And apparently this woman is also a part of a chain of restaurants called Al Haji's Wife. And so social media users are also mentioning that online. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It obviously sounds very evil. I mean, and it sounds like I would love to believe that it's something deeper than this, but it probably was just something as simple as, you didn't hold the plane for me, and do you know who I am energy, which is the thing out here. All right, so let's get out of Ghana and take a flight over to Zambia. So some photos came out recently of Steve Harvey having a meeting with the president of Zambia. The initial controversy that came out, people were saying that, I guess, because Steve Harvey, when it was his turn to do an introductory statement, he didn't feel the need to have to go down his accolades and talking about who he is and what he does. He just basically was like, I'm famous, that's not important, let's just move right along, you know? And some people, you know, tried to basically say that that was, you know, arrogant, or it was disrespectful in front of the president, all this type of stuff. But apparently Steve Harvey was there to talk to the president of Zambia, and I think he's also on a Africa press tour right now, talking to different African presidents. It seems like he's talking to different tourism authorities, you know, finding out ways to bridge the gap between the African American market, right? And so I'm really curious about the Black American celebrity pipeline to Africa movement, because it's a very different movement from the everyday Black American who has a love and passion and respect for Africa. And I find it very interesting the way that a lot of the African presidents, when they want to get into the African American market, the first thing that they do is go to celebrities, right? And I understand they go to celebrities because celebrities are more accessible, they have more to offer, right? They have the money, they have the resources, and more importantly, they are a celebrity, so they have more of a mainstream, you know, presence than some of these African countries. And so I just noticed that there are a lot of discussions being had about African Americans' money from the perspective of the Black celebrity and African government mindset. And so you know, because this isn't Steve Harvey's first time traveling around Africa doing press. You know, he's met with the Ghana president at least a couple years ago, you know, and South Africa as well. And he has his Family Feud, which is now also stationed in South Africa, and it now plays out on the continent. But like I said, it's always interesting just seeing the way that African presidents and African governments interact with the African American community. Very rarely do you see African presidents going to HBCUs to speak to students. Very rarely do you see African presidents going to meet with, Pan-African organizations or, nonprofit organizations in the States who focus on, underprivileged communities and things like that. You very rarely, if ever, see the African government go to America and speak to the demographic of the Black community that is not associated with Black entertainment. Very rarely do you see that. And it just reminds me of, the year of return. Obviously, now all of these African countries are looking at Ghana and looking at the money that Ghana is making off of the African American market. And so they want in. You know what I mean? But it reminds me of when Ghana's president went to America. When he went to America, he went to Washington, D.C., and he went to, from my understanding, in that White House, Congress, type of environment. But imagine if the president, went to Howard, or he went to Spelman, or he went to, Morehouse, right? Imagine if the president came to America to throw their own event, right? I just think that it's intentional when the African government only interact with the African American community through celebrities and entertainment. And funny enough, Davido was recently interviewed, and Davido basically, said, I don't understand why a lot of the diaspora wants to come back to the continent, because the leaders are not good, our conditions are not good, our economy is really bad in so many different countries, specifically the countries that a lot of diasporans want to come to. And, he talked about a truth that a lot of people do not want to talk about. They don't want to talk about what the reality is here.
Leave America and try to find those.
Leave America and go where?
Back home.
Let's be honest. Go back where? It's not cool back home.
It's not?
My country now is in the economy now is shambles.
But if people are leaving,
I do my part.
Yeah,
I'm an ambassador. So when I go home and I'm filming and showing, I'm not gonna show the bad parts. I ain't gonna show all the
You're
bad parts.
not gonna try to slum. You're not gonna show the trenches.
No, I go to the trenches.
Yeah.
I film the trenches, but I'm talking about the situation in the country.
Yeah,
We Nigerians, you know what I'm saying? Like now the exchange rate is messed up. A lot of stuff not going well. You know what I'm saying? The economy is just not good anymore. The oil prices are too high. And imagine a country that produces oil. We produce the oil, and we pay more money for oil than a country that's importing the oil. You know what I'm saying? So there's stuff like that. But regardless, entertainment is one of the things that's made Africa look good.
Yeah.
We do not have the best leaders. That's a fact.
When we talk about development issues, the development issues are not just physical. They're not just environmental. They're also mental, right? It's also spiritual, personal development, character development. That still has to happen on the continent and in these individual countries as well, right? So that's enough of Zambia. So I haven't talked about this because I think my last video was right before the American election. Trump is obviously the new next president-elect, and we will be anticipating his presidency next year, January. And so I want you guys to go check out my article on my website talking about Trump and Africa.
Trade music. Purchase your tracks today.
it was alarming to see how many African people, not only African people in America, but to see African people, specifically Nigerians, specifically Ghanaians, there were a lot of East Africans as well, and obviously South Africans, who were elated that Trump won. It was like the moment that he won, people who never talked about America on their WhatsApp statuses were posting MAGA hats. People who have never been to America were posting MAGA hats, were posting Trump. People on the African continent. And so, I wanted to do some research on Trump's relationship with Africa, because we all know that back when Trump was president, he made a very open comment about Africa being filled with shithole countries. So that was kind of the last thing that we heard from him. And I guess that was okay, right? I mean, who am I to say what is and is not okay anymore? And so, yeah, I just don't really have that much to say about Trump winning. I think that we're just going to have to see. And, you know, like with any president, you just have to prepare yourself and prepare your own life and figure out what position in society do you want to be in. Do you want to be in a position where every time a new president comes into office, your livelihood is affected? Do you want to figure out a lifestyle of sustainability so that you don't have to rely on certain governments and certain forces for the rest of your life? You know, you have to make that decision as you get older and as every day goes on. Because America this season, I don't know, we might be in a finale. We just might be in a finale. I don't know. And so this last story, really quick, there is a small update to the story about the 2 black women in South Africa that were murdered, that was murdered a few months ago by these white farmers.
I'm going to start this episode with this story about South Africa. So apparently there has been a really big case that happened recently. 2 women were murdered by these white farmers, and these 2 white men killed them. And apparently there was a Zimbabwean man who also helped murder the women. The part that makes this story really, really disturbing is the way that the women were murdered. So apparently they were shot and then they were dismantled and fed to pigs. And so their bodies were found in a pig.
There was a clip going around of the man crying, and people are basically, you know, unapologetic about it and don't really care, and we shouldn't. You know, now all of a sudden he's empathetic or sympathetic about what he did, but hopefully the next information that comes out about this story is that he is under the jail, or that he is right, along with his partners that helped him in this crime. So yeah, that video that's kind of circulating around, it was just kind of like, you know, white tears. And I think that's pretty much it. You know, I want to keep this video as short as possible. So hopefully next week I have another weekly update of what's been going on in GRIOT news. Make sure you go to my website, check out my paintings, check out everything that is in the store. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Kiki.